Hello guys, hi. We are live and back again for another Charmed discussion. Let me just bring this down a little bit. All right. Hello, so today we are talking about Charmed Season 2, Episode 17. That means we have 2 more episodes left. And yeah, today we're going to be doing a live stream discussing the show. I have some notes this time, and I figured the easiest way I think to do this would be we're going to talk through certain plot points, and if there's questions that are related to those plot points, we'll get into them then, or any comments or anything, but otherwise any other discussions we'll save for the end of the live stream just so that we can actually talk through the episode first. Also, if you decide you want to do a super chat, that is definitely a surefire way that I will get to your question. Otherwise, I will, get to them as soon as I can. Some other things to know. I have a new episode of my MTV series, It Was All a Stream, which just came out today, episode 2, and I talk about, a lot of really cool shows and movies and music. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I have links down below so you can check it out. And if you just go to like MTV on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you'll find the video series. So I hope you guys check it out. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/kmaldo, where you can get exclusives that are not on my channel. There's even a special Charmed tier where you can get exclusives. So if you have not checked that out yet, I suggest you do, and I hope you, decide to check it out. Otherwise, consider subscribing if you like my videos, and drop it in the comments, and let's talk about this episode of Charmed. Okay, so, first thing I want to talk about is Macy and her feelings. So, we have found out that, last episode, Jordan gave, not Jordan, there's too many J names, Julian gave Macy this beautiful necklace and is kind of like solidifying that he wants to, be in a serious relationship with her. And in this episode, we see her definitely realizing that that's not something that she's interested in. She likes Jordan, she likes Julian, she thinks he's smart, she thinks he's brilliant and great, but is just not really interested in him in that way. And so we see a fun scene of her going through like what she wants to say to break up with him with her sisters, but all of that kind of changes as we learn some things about Julian that we might not have known before. That the getaway car that kind of took Harry away in the last episode was actually registered to the Shea Group, which is Julian's company. So automatically that kind of is like, wait, this is suspicious. What's going on? Is Julian really involved? Is it just Aunt Vivian? We have a comment here from Nas who says, I am so over the love triangle at this point. I feel bad for Julian because he doesn't deserve to get played since we know he's innocent. Is he innocent? Let's talk about that. That's my next plot point that I want to discuss. Is Julian a bad guy? Is he not? And to me, this episode really solidified the idea that Julian doesn't actually know what's going on to a certain degree because, he easily could have been a character who, knows who the Charmed ones are, knows who Macy is, and is, maybe trying to infiltrate their group by being with Macy. But I think we clearly know in this episode that that's definitely not what he's doing. He doesn't know that the sisters are magic. He doesn't know, that they're even related. He's just meeting Maggie for the first time, so I don't think that he's involved, at least in a certain degree. I think we definitely learn in this episode that he doesn't really know everything that I think Vivian knows. This episode confirmed a theory that I've been talking about for the last few weeks, I feel like, or since that episode happened, which is that Julian's family situation, whatever happened to him when he was younger, where his parents died in that car accident, it's related to magic. And in this episode, he confirmed that, and we actually get to see the scene play out and learn what was it that he actually saw, and how it connects back to, why this company is doing experiments on magical creatures. So basically, Julian, when he was younger, they got into this car accident, which I will say did feel very reminiscent of the OG series with Paige and the fact that her family she lost in a car accident. But so, he sees his sister, we find out that he has a sister, was out in the road, she's injured, his parents are dead in the car, and he's looking out and he sees a figure magically appear, heal 2 people, and then disappear with them. And what we obviously know is that that must be a whitelighter, that he must have saved 2 witches and disappeared with them. And then that kind of opens up a lot of different questions because, you know, when he tells Macy all of this, she kind of assumes like, oh, well, you know, if that whitelighter didn't save his sister, obviously he's mad and he's going to, you know, want revenge. But, you know, we didn't actually get the full story there. And I think Julian is, I think, a character that has a lot more depth than that. I think that there's more going on to the story, and especially because he told us, like, we'll continue this conversation, and we never got to see what happened next, that maybe there's something else going on. So yes, you know, he saw this magical being that we now know is a whitelighter, and that kind of inspired him to, you know, do research into how did this person do this. Yes, they're doing testing, but does Julian really know to the extent? And, like, did that whitelighter really not save his sister? He didn't actually say that, you know? We don't know. What if his sister is really around? What if she is involved in magic in some way? Or what if there's just something else going on there that we haven't learned yet? And then that kind of brings up the idea, like, okay, so is Julian a bad guy, or is this, like, a red herring? And I would like to think that Julian is innocent. I see some comments here saying that they are hoping that he's innocent. Nah says, I think he's aware of magic and is trying to discover it, but he's not the one behind the transferal experimentation. I agree with that. I could see that being a thing. And Rose, Emerald Lee says, yeah, that's true. I feel bad for Julian because of what happened to his sister. College Girl says, I feel for Julian. I think he's innocent in all of this. And so my thought is, like, if it could go a couple of different ways. Maybe he is innocent in all of this. Maybe he, you know, like Naz mentioned, he's interested in the magical element, but maybe is not going as deep and dark as Vivian is. But the other thing that I think could be interesting is, what if it's like a double red herring? You know, like, okay, so what if, you know, we think Julian is the good guy, we see him help take down Vivian, and then at the last moment, all of a sudden his eyes flash with some type of evil, like, and then it turns out he really is the bad guy, and maybe all of this was part of his plan to even get Aunt Vivian out of the way. That could just be, you know, diving even further into a, you know, a crazy, you know, can of worms that maybe is not where the story's going. But I think that could be interesting if, like, they give you that kind of double, like, oh no, he's innocent. Wait, is he? No, he is. No, he's not. Ba ba ba. You know, like, I think that'd be really cool. Salazar says he is the mastermind. You know, I'm not sure. You know, I think there's a couple of different ways that we could go with this. I would like to think, as Jazz says here, that maybe Julian is interested in learning how to help people with that healing, that whitelighter power that he found, or that he saw. So, you know, I think that there's a lot of places we could still go with Julian, and especially since there's only 2 episodes left, I feel like we're gonna have to get more. Like, they're not gonna wrap that up in 2 episodes, right? We'll see. Next up, I want to talk about Mel and Abigail. So this is the second episode now that we're seeing Mel and Abigail working together. They sort of have like this, a little bit of like a good cop, bad cop dynamic going on, and I enjoy their banter. And I wonder if Mel is right, and maybe we'll see that, you know, the Charmed One's influence can help Abigail kind of do the right thing, be on the good guy's side. And I actually really liked in this episode that we got to dive deeper into Abigail's story and learn that not only did she have a bad relationship with her dad, but like her relationship with her mom wasn't that great either. And that I just think Abigail is a kind of character, and I think if you look back now after we know this about her, I think it makes sense that she's a character that nobody ever sees her for who she is and accepts her. And I think that that's something that she wants. Like, I think she wants someone that will accept her demon side and her witch side and like all of her. And I think that a lot of people that she meets just want her to be one thing and can't embrace, you know, the truth of who she is, which is that she's multifaceted. I also think that after that whole, you know, after we had that whole Power of Threes back, after all the discussions of sisterhood, I still find it very interesting, not even interesting, I find it kind of irritating that we never see Macy and Mel together. Did you notice that? Like, I feel like even after all the sisterhood stuff, you know, so in this episode, for instance, Mel works with Abigail while Macy goes off with Maggie and Jordan. But I just feel like it would be really nice to be able to see Macy and Mel team up sometimes. It always just feels like it's either Mel and Maggie or Macy and Maggie, and it can never it's very, very rarely do we ever see Mel and Macy together. So that just like is something that I want them to be more aware of, because to me it makes me think, okay, so are there still problems in the sisterhood? They're just continuing to do the same thing where we're just seeing we're never seeing Mel and Macy together, and it's felt like they've had some kind of like issues from the very beginning. Let me go into some comments talking about this situation with Mel and Abby. Mel and Abby could be a dynamic duo if they chose to go in that direction. That's what Anna Bailey says. College Girl says, I still don't trust Abigail. Her background confession to Mel does not justify what she's done this season. Well, the thing is, what has she really done this season? She's helped the Charmed Ones a lot. I mean, I know a lot of what she does is kind of manipulative, but regardless, she always still helps them, even though it helps herself too. But she's never like really backstabbed them. Josh says, I would love for Abigail to have an underdog moment and be on the Charmed One side down the line. It'd be nice since the Charmed Ones never have friends. Yeah. I mean, I guess the Charmed Ones kind of do have friends, though. Like, you know, they're working with Abigail, they're working with Jordan. There's a lot more people, I think, in their inner circle than there were in the original sisters' inner circle, honestly. Rose Emerald Lee says, at first I disliked Abigail, now I kind of like her. I feel bad for her and what she went through. And then Salazar says, it's been a big issue of Charmed separate storylines. And Nas says, it does feel like we rarely get that duo, and it's kind of ridiculous after 40 plus episodes. So yeah, like I definitely agree that I just think that I would love to see, you know, Mel and Macy work together a bit more. You know, it just feels like they always try to keep them separate, and I'm like, is that like is there like issues going on backstage, or like why do we always never see them working together? And even in like little things, like when we got to see the Power of Three come back at the end of that episode, you see Macy in one chair alone and the two other sisters sitting together on like the little couch seat, and it's like, why is Macy always the one on the outside? I don't get it, even after everything. Okay, so let's go on. We're going to keep talking about some other topics in this episode. Let's talk about Jordan a little bit, which I'm surprised that Jordan's actually a character that I'm really having a lot of fun with. I'm really enjoying where he's going, which is so funny because at the very beginning, you guys know I wasn't really a big Jordan fan. I started changing my mind a little bit when I saw him do karaoke with Maggie, because I'm a sucker for a musical number, and then I feel like ever since they've gotten Jordan in on their inner circle, ever since he like has, you know, found out what's going on with magic and everything, I feel like he's been a really great character to watch. You know, I really like that he's becoming part of the team and helping out. Like this episode, he's the one that was like, hey Maggie, maybe if you want to get a vision of these guys, you should try holding something of Harry's and something of Julian's together. And it worked, you know? And he's like, I love seeing how excited he is about the magic. Like when they were putting a little potion together, he's like, oh, that's so cool. And he's just, I think, adding a lot of like fun comedic relief. When they were like, yeah, Julian, yeah, Jordan, we're gonna need you to possibly kiss Vivian so that we can do this spell. He's like, oh no. I don't know, the way he did it, it was so funny. I was like, that was a great moment. Like it was just a priceless reaction. And I just think it's cool because, you know, I think they're finally solidifying a place for him. He feels like he has a purpose now, and you know, he's doing his own thing as well, though. Like he's helping the sisters, but he's also kind of on his own mission to, you know, help save witches. And I think that his role could grow even further, especially when it comes to the idea of like, you know, the kind of descendants of the Salem witches. Let's see. We got some comments about Jordan. Jordan is really growing on me. I like that they're slowly building his connection with the sisters. That was from Joshua. I definitely agree. Apocalypse says, I like the fact that they involve Jordan in magic. Totally. Josh says, I'm really loving Jordan. It's funny how in the episode he's a better whitelighter than Harry. I mean, honestly, to be honest, Harry this whole season has spent the whole time getting in predicaments where he needs everyone to save him. Is this like the third or fourth time now where people have needed to save him? You know, you'd think that the whitelighter would be the one kind of coming in and helping, not always being the one needing help. O'Dane says, yeah, Jordan was very useful, more useful than Harry all season. I agree. Rebel says, I love Jordan this episode. Nas says, Jordan really transformed into a great character, especially when he was questionable in the early episodes. I feel like he'd make a great whitelighter. I definitely agree with all of that. Anna Bailey says, how do you think that Jordan's curse will add to the rest of the season? I mean, I think that what went on with him and his curse definitely connects back to that new prophecy that witch told him last episode, where, you know, there's something with like some kind of darkness that's going to be involved, maybe, in like something with like the descendants of the Salem witches, maybe something like that. I definitely think that his plot is going to connect back to what's happening with the Charmed Ones in some way. I hope so, because otherwise, like, what's the point? But it made it seem like once that witch gave him that prophecy in like in the last episode or so, that there has to be some kind of connection. Mr. Hootie Dean says, Kristen, don't tease. Thought we were going to get your beautiful vocal stylings. Oh, thank you. Maybe at the end of the video, or in in another live stream or something. Rose Emerald Lee says, I felt bad for Jordan in this episode because Maggie suggested he kiss Aunt Vivian. I want Jordan and Maggie to be together already. I love what Jordan's doing. Okay, so normally, I'm not a big fan of the love triangles and love just like plots that they've had lately, because there's just too much of them. But I do feel like they're making Jordan become part of the family, become, a good friend, and that I would be okay with seeing him and Maggie getting together later on. Joshua Terry says, did Jordan ever tell the sisters about the prophecy from the ghost witch? Did he? I don't think he did yet, because he, like, literally, everything picked up right off from the last episode. So I don't think he's gotten a chance to let them know yet, but, I definitely think that something's gonna go on with that. Yeah, O'Dane says, Jordan forgot to tell the Charmed Ones about the prophecy. I think they kind of got busy trying to save Harry, but I'm sure it will hopefully come up soon. What else we got here? Dakota Herald says, how about Jordan is the evil one? I did think about that for like a second, but like, I don't know. I think I kind of trust Jordan right now. Okay, so we got some more topics to get into, and then at the end, so for those of you who might have missed at the very beginning, I was saying I'm going to go through specific topics that I've written down because I don't want to forget anything. I want us to be able to still have a deep discussion about this episode, but also address questions. So I'm going to be addressing questions related to the topics as I go through them, and if you have any additional questions or comments or things you want to add, I'll address those at the end of the live stream. Also, if you want to make sure that I definitely get to your questions, super chats are welcome, but not required. Okay. A couple more comments and questions I want to get to related to Jordan and what we've already talked about. College Girl says, I love Jordan, and I so agree with you about Mel and Macy. I've noticed that too. They never work together. It's as if Mel's been sidelined by Macy. It seems that his sisterhood is not fully whole. I agree with that. And actually, it was interesting, I thought about in this episode that, Macy's kind of the one going out there and kind of going on the mission, and Maggie's there to help, but there's not like a lot that Maggie and Jordan were able to do while they were there. They were just kind of like, chilling, while Macy was going and kind of investigating everything. And then you have Mel back at home that was like sending the potions, and it just felt like, that was definitely still important, but also, I don't know, it just feels like Mel's been sidelined this season, where she was the witch and the sister that was always like, I want to be in charge, I want to, what's it called, like, question authority, like, I'm a leader, and now it kind of feels like she's, like, taken a big step back, and it's kind of just, like, chilling at home on missions. Not that she was chilling at home, because they did need her, like, they needed those potions, but, I definitely think that what you guys are saying, that she's been sidelined, kind of makes sense, yeah. Okay. O'Dane says, I feel like Jordan will die and then become a whitelighter to break the curse. I think Jordan would make a great whitelighter. I mean, look at all the things he's accomplished in his life. Definitely a good guy. Jesus Perez says, I made it. Hello, welcome. Salazar says, hi, hello. Okay, let's continue on. And again, any questions that I missed, you can either super chat them if you feel, or send them at the end, as we continue on to discuss different topics. So the next thing I want to talk about is Harry. I mean, this is kind of like the big thing of this episode. They're trying to get Harry back. Again, it's like, Harry, why do you always need to be saved by everyone? Like, honestly, it's funny because I I thought that this season was going to be about, oh, the Charmed Ones are going to be saving the magical world. They're going to be saving their fellow witches. They're the last line of defense. But really, it's about the Charmed Ones saving Harry like every other episode. But, okay. So I still want to know, because I feel like they did not explain this, what happened in between Harry being in that car and being kissed by Nadia and then being locked up in that, cage thing? Like, what happened in between that? I thought that Nadia was looking for him and was happy that they found Jimmy. So what went on there that all of a sudden now Harry's locked up and they're gonna like steal his magic? So they find Harry and they try to break him out, right? They go through all this whole process, and instead of just like using her magic to try to get Harry out of this container, Macy's like, no, let's do the computer method, the scientific method, which like I get. But the whole thing is, like, she kind of let these two other magical creatures die because she did that. Like, she's the one that started the program accidentally. Now they know how it works, but, like, she kind of has her blood, like, their blood on her hands. Anyone else kind of think about that? I was sort of, like, thinking that maybe she'd have a bigger reaction to the fact that she sort of was the one that made those two magical creatures die before they really needed to. Like, maybe they could have saved them. And then the thing, Malachi says Macy is so hesitant. She was so hesitant about this whole thing that she let two magical beings die. They took, I think, half of Harry's powers, it looked like, based off how it worked. And the whole time she's like, well, I don't want Harry to die. What if I mess up when I'm trying to use my powers and it kills him? Girl, he was gonna die either way. And either way, it was gonna be your fault. Like, if you're the one that started the machine, so if you didn't save Harry using your powers, like, you had more of a chance doing that, and they were able to save him, or he was just gonna die because she started this machine that she shouldn't have, It's like, what are you doing, Macy? So they managed to get Harry out, and he is not dead, thankfully, even though Macy really, like, didn't do her best work at that point. And I kind of felt like Vivian when she got into the room and saw what happened and, saw the power that they'd collected. She didn't really seem that upset. I thought she kind of seemed like, all right, cool, like, we're good. We have everything we needed. So does that mean, one, great question, Jed Young says, does Harry even still have his powers? I don't know. Did they take, like, part of his ability? Is maybe a whitelighter's ability more powerful than, like, all of the other creatures? Is that why she seemed content? Like, okay, we got what we needed. I don't need any magical beings anymore, And then, sorry, I got my notes. So then, they get back. Everyone's, they're taking care of Harry. All the sisters are like, let's make sure Harry's okay. And Macy's with him. And finally, only took, what episode are we on? 17. Only took 17 episodes for Macy to finally realize how she feels about Harry, to let him know how she feels. And, she gives this very moving speech, and what happens? Harry's got amnesia, so he don't even know who she is. He's like, you're really pretty, and I'm like, that was a really nice speech, but who are you? Who am I? What's happening? Like, of course, super cliche, and it just feels like it adds another, like, I don't know, sort of cheesy element of, like, of course he has amnesia. Of course the one time Macy can say how she feels, Harry doesn't even know who she is, doesn't know who he is, who knows if he even has powers anymore, like, now here we go again. They've saved Harry, but not really. Like, they need to continue to save Harry because now they have to get his memory back. And Nas says, I was annoyed because I knew Harry didn't remember her just as she started confessing. I'm so over this love triangle. Agreed. I felt like as she was talking, you kept seeing Harry being like, oh, well, and just looking like super confused. And I'm like, well, it's pretty obvious this guy doesn't know who you are. And, I don't know, just the expressions and the way he was, reacting, it was like pretty clear that he wasn't going to know what was happening. And Z says, did anyone else laugh at the faces Harry was making during the confession? It was really funny. Yeah, it was. And it was like super obvious. And then, fade to black. What's going to happen next episode? Now we have to, go through Harry's mind and try to save him and bring him back. And actually, I feel like they probably need Abigail for that, right? Because isn't Abigail the one that has the power that she can, like, go in people's heads? They only did that in, like, one episode, but yeah, like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna need Abigail for that. Yeah, let me see. You guys got a lot of great comments. J-Man says, at this point, the whole Hazy thing is so drawn out and unnecessary. Agreed. Rose says, I was stressing out. I feel bad for Harry when Macy finally tells him she wants to be with him and he doesn't remember. I'm angry, sad. Why? Writer / CW, why? Malachi says, it took 17 episodes for Piper to find out Leah was the one. That's true, but they kind of like, I don't know. I think it just felt different. Like, it just, you know, it just hit different then. All right, some other things I want to talk about. A couple of other moments, and then we'll get into some more questions that I want to discuss, is the spells and also just like a couple of goofy moments that I thought happened in this episode. So I thought the magic was really kind of fun this episode. There was a lot going on. The magic purse where you can like throw in a potion and it comes back out. I thought that was really cool. We got to see a lot of different potions and things like the wallflower spell and the nightingale potions, and I thought those were really cool, but also it just kind of shows me that, like, again, we're not really seeing them like, I guess, like, doing the work to get there, so I kind of missed that a little bit. And I think the same thing with just like the demons that they found. You know, it was a like a cabal demon and a banshee, and it's like, okay, but like, where's the history there? Like, I wish that there were previous episodes where maybe we had met these magical beings and that they could just be like more important to us. Like, it just feels like throwaway, like, oh, here's the name of a magical thing, right? That's enough. That's enough world building in this magical world, right? And it's like, no, I want to see more. You know, what does this demon do? What does this banshee do? You know, I wish that we had previous, you know, Demon of the Week episodes that maybe led up to this, where now we're like, oh shoot, I need them to save my favorite magical being, you know? Na says, I like the potions, but it seemed like they came out of nowhere since we never saw them learn them. I wish they would explore the mythology instead of just throwing it at us. Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. We also see Abigail use a blinding spell, which is something that they did in the OG series as well against warlocks. And what other things do I want to mention? Oh, Macy's fake fainting. That was so funny. I was dying. So, you know, she came out of the elevator and Julian's like, where were you? And she can't talk because she's going to have his voice. So she just like fake fainted. I loved that. And also the fact that, like, you know, again, Maggie and Jordan didn't really have that much to do this episode. So the fact that they're like chilling at this party and then they're like so far away from Aunt Vivian, but they can hear her entire conversation and her entire plan and know what's going to happen was just like so funny to me. I'm just like, they were like a good 6-7 feet away from her. Like, you could not hear that. You did not hear anything. But it helped and they were able to figure out where to go. But it was funny. So yeah, those are definitely, I think, all the things I want to bring up about this episode. That's all my notes. And yeah, if you guys have any other thoughts or questions or comments, let's get into those. Let's see. Dwayne says, exactly, why would they put a banshee in this season and the sisters didn't face off against it at least once? Right? Like, even if they're not, like, I don't know, I just think that there's different ways that they could have included, like, Demon of the Week formats that would have really progressed the story and given us, like, more, you know, made us feel something more when we see that all these creatures are being locked up, and also could have expanded the magical history of this season, the magical history that they're trying to introduce us to. It felt like they only did like half the job. You know what I mean? Gerard says, in season 3, I hope we get good backstory on potions, creatures, the sisters, all of it. I don't know, I feel like at this point, like, what are they gonna soft reboot it again? Like, they've kind of introduced stuff. I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's gonna be the same, honestly. But I wish that they would give us just more details. Malachi says, I want them to use more spells, like a cloaking spell instead of a serum. Yeah, I think that would be really cool, if they did more like spell casting versus just like little potions. Although it would be great to see more potions too, because honestly there wasn't that much of it in general this season, so I think, you know, this episode we kind of got a lot, so I was like, okay, this is cool to see how they're doing like the wallflower potion and stuff like that. Was really interesting. Jesus says they could have used the base to introduce different demons in different locations and maybe even new characters and witches. Yeah, like I think that would have been really interesting and just really flesh out the creatures in this magical world so we understand it a bit more. Josh says, every other episode they were coming back from a save and they would show us. It's irritating. Oh, you mean like, I feel like that's something that we saw a lot where it's like the episode starts with them like returning from helping someone and it's like, well, I would have wanted to see that as the episode, you know, and make some of these magical beings or these, you know, different characters have more of like an impact. That's something that I really enjoyed about the original series is that like, I could think back about like certain creatures or certain even like people that I just really remember that episode very distinctly and that they had a big part of it. You know, like the episode with John Chu where he was like a ghost and Piper helped him. Like that episode I like specifically remember that guy, like they made him feel like he had a main role even though he was only in that one episode. And I feel like they should be taking that kind of path when it comes to anybody they introduce. Like everybody shouldn't feel like, oh, a throwaway afterthought. Like everyone should feel like this is an important person or important creature for this episode, and you know that if you know maybe in the future they could come back at some point, you know, not necessarily everyone has to come back, but like I just feel like they should focus more on those stories and they should have more of an impact. And I think that's something that I also found to be lacking in season 1 as well. Like the Medusa episode, like I loved that episode, but the girl that they were helping, I felt like she didn't have like as big of a role as she could have had or big of an impact. I think that they need to really focus the episodes, I don't know, a little bit better so that it feels like the story matters and not like, oh, this is just a charm one's doing something, okay, now they're moving on to the next thing, you know? Nas says, I find it funny that the writers forgot to give Mel the plot of rebuilding the Book of Shadows. She hasn't mentioned it since before the mid-season finale. Yeah, they kind of just like dropped that. Merrily says, why didn't they explain the different magical creatures in the Book of Elders or I guess Abigail's Book of Shadows? Yeah, like they could easily do that and they haven't done that. Ezekiel says, when Mel forgot the ingredient, that was the perfect time to at least name the Book of Shadows, right? Like, could have been at least just a name. Let's see. What else? Dakota Harold says, do you think Mel is going to die in the finale? Well, okay. I don't know if anyone's really going to die. I mean, technically they've all died in different ways throughout both seasons. But, you know, we're also not really getting the real finale. We're only getting up to episode 19, so I honestly don't. I don't think so. If they do, it'll be one of those things where like, well, technically Macy died when she was a baby and came back, or look, Mel and Maggie both died in those dreams, you know, so I'm sure they won't die. Oh, we got a super chat. Thank you so much, Rebel, for your super chat. I really appreciate it. They said, do you like Mel's new power? I do. I think it's fun, you know, that she can kind of move all these molecular things. I think they're just not showing us enough yet. Like, I think that they could do a lot with it. I mean, so far we've seen her freeze things. We've seen her fire, turn things into fire, you know, light them on fire. And then in this episode, I thought it was kind of interesting. We saw her and Abigail both kind of like hold that big cage thing that Harry was in. And I'm like, wait, does that make sense? Or is that more of a telekinesis power? So I think they need to kind of flesh out the powers a little bit more, because I think Macy's and Mel's could kind of get a little bit like close to each other in a way, like a little too similar, but I do think her powers is very cool. I think all of their powers are cool, to be honest. If I had powers, oof, you don't even know. I would be so thrilled. I think that's why I'm sure we all want powers. That's why we watch these shows, right? Oh, Bertram says Harry is on pace at this point to be the dead one this season. Honestly, true. RJ says, how did they master witchcraft so fast? It took the OGs about 4 seasons to get where they are now. How? Or to get where they are. How? Yeah, I think that there's a lot of confusion about just like the mythology and the magic and everything in this show. Even in the first season, you know, everyone thought that they moved too quickly, whereas like in this show, in this season now, it felt like they tried to restart everything, but then again, now like they don't even use the Book of Shadows. At least in the first season, they used the Book of Shadows. Now it's like, where are they getting these spells and stuff from? They're just like making it up. They're using the Book of Elders, they're using Abigail's book, like, you know, we never really see them kind of do that much with that. Context Code said they pretty much have all the OG sisters' powers. Exactly. I mean, they pretty much do. RJ Dupa says, Mel's new power, heat, so far it's been more like thermodynamics. Yeah, I wonder, I mean, they said it's like molecular manipulation, so that could be a lot of different things, like speeding it up, slowing it down, you know, warping it, transforming it. I think that there's a lot of places that they could go with it. I mean, that's one of the things one of the things that I enjoyed about The Flash when I used to watch that show is that, you know, his power is speed, but he can do so much with it where it's like, well, this is like beyond just speed. He's not just fast. He could run up a wall so fast that it's like he's flying. You know, he can go through time. He can create like windstorms and stuff. Like, he could do so much, and I think that they could definitely do that with the Charmed ones. Something else I was also thinking about lately with the Charmed ones is, like, what if, like, would they ever be able to combine their powers to do something? Like, outside of the power of three, like, could Mel and Macy combine their powers to create, like, something different? Or, like, could Maggie and Mel combine their powers to do something different, you know? Like, kind of, like, help each other's powers transform a little bit. Devilish Aggie says, I liked how Mel and Abigail talked about how neither of their mothers were perfect. Abby's mother forced witchcraft onto her, and Marisol lied to Mel and kept secrets from her. Yeah, you know, it's interesting to see, like, how they each perceive each other, and also, like, the realities, because, you know, I think Abigail kind of thinks, like, oh, the Charmed ones are the goody girls, like, they had the perfect life, the perfect mom, and it's like, no, well, actually, they had a lot going on that even they didn't know about until recently, you know, with all the lies that Marisol told to try to protect them, but also, you know, she probably should have let them know. Speaking of Marisol, actually, that makes me wonder, this season, one time so far, we've gotten kind of like a message from beyond from Marisol, right? Like one or two times. Will we get that again? I hope so, because I thought that was really cool, and I thought maybe that could be like leading to them seeing their mom again, but so far that has not happened. Rose Emerald Lee says, I like this episode. I have nothing else to say. Thank you, Kristen, for what you're doing. I will miss watching Charmed until it comes back. Hey, we got 2 more episodes. I'm gonna do 2 more live streams, one next Saturday and one not the next Saturday, but the one after that, because they're skipping a week as usual. Typical Charmed. Let's see. Josh says, I want to know more about their families. I do too, and I'm really hoping that the next episode kind of allows us to do that a little bit more. I know Ray's supposed to be coming back, and supposedly we're going to learn more about Macy's past. I really want to just learn more about, like, their family. I think what could have been a great season 2 is them diving more into their family history, which in turn dives more into the magical world and the magical history, you know, Demon of the Week formats, until we got to, you know, this whole witch versus, you know, not even witch, magical versus human war. Like, I think that they could have teased all of that up and, you know, made that a whole thing. I think that would have been a really great season. I mean, we're getting some of that, but it's just, you know, we're not necessarily getting all of the, you know, kind of history in the background that I think all of us want, because we're all, you know, such big fans of, like, not even just magical shows and witches shows, but just, like, the mystery and the like, connecting the dots and everything, you know? Context Code says, aren't they starting season 3? There's a season 3 coming. I just don't know when they could possibly start filming it because, you know, obviously with everything that's going on in the world, everything's kind of on pause, so they haven't even finished filming the end of season 2. So for people who might not know, we're only getting up to episode 19, so there's only 2 more episodes left in this season, and then the rest of season 2 will kind of happen right at the beginning of season 3, and then we'll get into season 3, but who knows again when they will even film that, because right now nobody can leave their homes, which is why we're live streaming. Devilish Aggie says, I'm looking forward to learning more about Macy's past and her karaoke number. Right? I can't wait. I'm a sucker for a karaoke number. I just hope at one point that they end up doing like a Charmed musical episode. Like, I think that'd be so fun. If anybody needs somebody for that, I will join. I volunteer as tribute. Jesus says, does anyone really get Macy's new power? I'm a little bit stumped. I think Macy's new power, we still haven't like officially learned exactly what it is, but it seems like an advanced form of telekinesis. But I guess hopefully they'll explain more. Ezekiel says, I'd like to see some magic exposure risk or how to balance their normal lives and supernatural lives. That was one of the interesting things about the show. Here we only see their witchy side. I agree with that, and I think even Maggie kind of brought that up a little bit. The fact that like she kind of misses the idea of like being able to focus on her dreams or her goals or like what she wants to do with her life, because really there's just always some kind of crisis happening, and there's, you know, yes, they're a part of this magical world, but I think some of the fun of it was when you got to see them balancing like the magical world versus, you know, what they were doing in their regular lives. Like, I really enjoyed when Maggie was in a sorority, or when Macy was being a scientist, or when Mel was, you know, working at the school as a teacher's assistant. Like, I thought that that was really cool that we got to see them, what they're interested in, and them trying to live their lives while also balancing this magical world. And now it's kind of just like there's so much in the magical world that I personally think that there's not enough like story explanation of things, like, you know, the background and stuff to warrant doing that. Like, I think that right now there's times in episodes where I'm like, oh, okay, not that much is really going on here. Like, we could be either expanding the world more or having them doing that balancing again of that life of trying to be, you know, have a normal life. RJ says, I'm missing their lives advance in addition to their magic. Yes, totally agree. Erica says, I'm looking forward to the next episode because Rupert, aka Harry, directed it. Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting to see him direct an episode. What is that going to be like? Very cool. Malachi says, in the OG, the charmed ones helps humans and witches, while in the reboots, they don't. Yeah, you know, in the reboot, I feel like, I don't know if they've, like, figured out what their thing is. Like, obviously, in the first season, magical beings, and they kind of helped humans a little bit as well, like, a little, like, but very little bit. It was mostly they were helping other magical beings. But in this season, it's like, they're just saving Harry over and over again. That's what it seems like. Ugh. Zay says, I think Maggie isn't interested in a relationship with Parker right now after the whole thing with, sorry, I read that wrong. I think Maggie isn't interested in a relationship right now after the whole thing with Parker. Jordan is a great guy and wouldn't mind them together, but she needs time to heal now. I definitely agree with that. I hope over time, maybe, you know, things will get better for them. But again, now is, I feel like, the time where we're finally not having 100 romances stuffed down our throats. Like, do we need a love pentacle? Pentacle? Right, the star, every single episode. So I'm glad that, like, maybe we're moving away from that a bit, because that's what it felt like this season, that like everything was either like a love triangle or saving Harry. And, you know, where's the magic, where's the sisterhood? We're finally starting to get it, so I'm glad about that. Josh says the whole season has just been one big Hasty fanfic. I mean, true. Yeah. And honestly, I wasn't really a huge fan of Hasty from the beginning. Like, I liked seeing Harry in season 1 as sort of like a fatherly figure to them, or sort of like a family figure. So, you know, I was kind of already going into this season being like, I don't care about Hasty. Sorry for everyone who cares about Hasty, because your feelings are valid, but I just didn't care about it. But, you know, I'm glad Macy's finally expressing her feelings and telling Harry how she feels, because it only took like forever. Peasel says we need a bromance between Harry and Jordan. Yeah, that would be fun. I think that they would be a good duo together as buddies. Ezekiel says it was great in the last episode when Maggie said, "We are witches too. We're here to help." In the bees scene, that's the main core of the show. Writers premise every episode. Yeah, I mean, that would be smart, you know, to kind of keep like a format so that we kind of get where the story's going. Josh says, oh, in regards to me talking about Harry being like a fatherly family figure to them, he says, yes, exactly, a family or father figure. I never got where like that came from their relationship. Let's see. Totally agree. Hasty was the weirdest pairing ever. That was from J-Man. I'm glad I'm not alone. I thought I was alone and being like, I don't care about Hasty. Okay, I'm going to keep going for just a few more minutes, guys, and then we're going to wrap it up. And, you know, just a reminder, I will be doing another live stream next episode. I hope you guys liked this, and, you know, I think it's a fun way that we can, like, kind of talk about the episode in real time. And, you know, just bond together, have some fun. And a couple of other quick updates. Just a reminder that my new episode of It Was All a Stream for MTV is out today. I'm really excited, so if you guys can support it, that would mean so much to me. This is a series that I pitched, and I produce it, and I write it, and everything from my living room for MTV. It's about basically what is streaming in music, in movies, and TV, and it's just really fun, and it's like a dream come true to be able to do it. So any support is appreciated. There's links in the description box. Also, you can just go to MTV on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook to find it. And you know, I'm talking about things like, did you know that Killing Eve is back 2 weeks early this Monday? So if you didn't know that, you can find out that and other things in those video series. And yeah, let's go back to some questions or comments, you know. Joshua says, love it. Thank you for doing these. I look forward to watching your reviews. Thank you so much. I think this one is, you know, nice because I had notes. We know what we're going to talk about. We can talk through it individually and discuss with comments and stuff, but then also have a whole discussion at the end. So yeah, I feel like this was a good one. Malachi says, I want them to have an episode where they go to the past. Me too! Either that or just, like, show flashbacks to their childhoods. That's, like, what I'm waiting for. Like, I just want to see, like, a young Macy, like, what it was like for her growing up with just her dad, and, you know, what was her life like. I just want to know that. I don't know why. Jed says, did she break up with Jordan off screen or something? Did who? Marilee says, do you think the man that healed those witches and left Julian's sister for dead is Harry that saves us 2 witches? Oh, wait, was it Harry? I don't think it looked like Harry. I thought it looked like a darker figure. I thought he looked bald. I could be wrong. I'm not looking at the episode right now, so I don't remember like exactly what he looked like, but I didn't think it was Harry. But if it was Harry, oh, that would add a whole nother level. Wait, did you guys like take a really good look? Like, do you know who it was? Was it Harry? Was it someone else? Because if it was Harry that left Julian's sister, what? That would be on another level. Context code, Charm did that with the 70s episode, one of the best OG episodes. Yeah, they did a lot of time traveling in the OG show, which I loved. I loved when they went to the past and the future and to their childhood, and yeah, those were some really good ones. Oh, so everyone's saying it was not Harry that was the one that didn't save Julian's sister. It was someone else. Okay. That would have been crazy, though, right? Like, that would have been insane. Dwayne says we need some past life episodes, like the OGs. I want to see like a World War I or World War II era episode. I loved when they went and showed us their past lives. And you know what? Something else that I feel like they haven't done in this show is just a lot of like more transformations. Like, we sort of saw, I guess Mel has transformed a couple times, like into a fly and into like, or she got injected with one of the creature's like abilities, and she kind of turned a little bit into, I forget what the creature even was right now, but she turned a little bit into something, but not fully. But I want to see like a transformation, you know, like I want to see like them as mermaids. I want to see them as like, you know, werewolves or something. Like, just give us some, a Kion, that's what it was, Malachi, a Kion that they did like a spell so that she could find the Kion, and she turned not really into a Kion, but like a little bit, like they did a little bit. But I would love to see more stuff like that, like full on transformations. Okay. Do you think, Dakota, do you think Mel and Abigail are sisters? No, I don't think so. If anything, I was thinking maybe Abigail and Macy could be like demon sisters, and that like maybe they came from a similar bloodline, but I don't know about that. Ezekiel says they never get hurt. You mean the sisters? It's true, they don't really get hurt. It's usually Harry that gets hurt. Chris Mo says, I would really like more flashbacks, especially for Macy. I think that's what we're getting next episode. I hope so. Oh, Jed says, I was talking about Lola. We haven't seen her since the season 2B premiere. Lola, was that the girl that was Jordan's like maybe girlfriend? I don't even think she had a real role. See, that's like a whole nother thing. Like, I think we're the kind of audience that like latches on to like the little things because we're like, this means something. But then like the writers didn't care about her, so they were like, whatever, she's not important. She was, you know, someone that maybe Jordan was seeing, but maybe not, and then she disappeared, you know, like stuff like that I wish that, you know, I mean, at that point it's like, for her, why even bring her up? Maybe to make it so that Jordan's not available, but like, I don't know, I think that's a great example, sort of like, just how I wish that they would make certain things a little bit more important, or focus on them a little bit more. Even like Kat, for instance, like Kat, that's I think a better example of what I'm trying to say, of just like, you know, Kat could have been a really important character. She obviously had like skills that were really important, but they didn't really focus on her much. They gave us this huge reveal about her, like actually being a medium, and then they got rid of her. And it was like, what? And that was this season. Wait, that was this season that happened. That feels like 100 years ago at this point. Oh my gosh. Justice, I'm still waiting on the childhood flashbacks that Liz and Craig promised we were getting this season. I thought that they mentioned something about that too, but yeah, like, what happened? Where is that? Is that this next episode maybe? Since we are getting some flashbacks of like maybe I think it's a flashback of a younger Macy with her hair and braids and the karaoke. That looked to me like it must be a flashback, but I'm not positive. Okay, I'm gonna take like two more comments, and then we're gonna wrap up. College Girl says, I miss Kat, she could have been really significant. Chris Mo says, yeah, that Kat character was kind of wasted. Yeah, right? Like, they introduced something so interesting. The fact that, like, Marisol communicated with Kat and, like, was trying to help the sisters, it's like, you're gonna go from that to, like, now she's gone, and that's never gonna come up again? Okay. All right. We got Rose saying, bye, Kristen, have a good day, a great day, and many more. Thank you so much. All right, guys, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Thank you all for joining me in this live stream. It was very fun. Again, I will be doing this the next few episodes that we have. I think there's only 2 left on Saturdays at 1 p.m. EST, so make sure to come and join me and hang out. I appreciate all of you. Thank you all for always supporting my videos and my channel and for coming to talk Charmed with me. I will see you guys in my next video or just next week in this live stream. All right. If you like my Charmed videos, you can check out more right over here. There will be a link. No, there will be little boxes here shortly. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.